Hello once again and welcome to another update on our Monster Hobbies building in progress. So as you can see, we've got the wall back here with the brick, all nice and impressive. So I'll just take a little tour around and show you where we're at. So currently we have this long wall finished. I did paint it yellow back here, and then we started doing the brickwork on this other wall, which we still have to finish. Now, one of the problems we had with this wall is that the drywall here has a piece of tape that was running down the wall, and for whatever reason it had bulged outward. And so when I was painting the brick and putting this tape across and all that, of course right after I paint it, we're pulling the tape off and it ripped big sections out of here. So I took my knife and I just cut it right here, and I cut up this way and that way and peeled the drywall tape going all the way up into the ceiling, about 6 feet of this. So what I'll have to do is, this time around I'm going to taper these edges in here, and I'm going to put a bit of tape along here with the paper in behind, and I'll have to remud this area here and then sand it all down and smooth it and then try to match up the bricks. The only problem is I've run out of this red, so I think going up this strip, it's going to be kind of multicolored with the bricks, but what can you do? Now looking at this yellow, you can see how bright it is. I've also got out the front, I think, try to film that. It's so bright there. But yeah, so again, this should look good. We also went and bought the shelves, and I'll have to cut those down to fit. Now here I've got all the shelving brackets. These ones are black, and I will have to get rid of the stickers on them. I have some white ones as well because the black ones are supposed to be discontinued. I'm not too sure, but at any rate, those will be spray painted black. The rails have been painted black, and I've got a lot more of these in the back. You can see they're white underneath. Again, this should look pretty good once we get it all together. The other thing I did was make this cool little brick pattern going up and around the door frame here. You can see all the bricks are going out this way, and then I've got them horizontal along the top. Right under the exit sign there's an orange one, because for some reason that math didn't work out right, that the bricks were the same size in that area. So I just used it as a stone. And over here, right from Brazil, we have these nice wooden shelves. And I'll have to cut these, they're 8-foot lengths, but I'll have to cut them down to 4 feet. I also have some frog tape and some more of those 12-inch brackets. And here are more of the vertical rails, and up on that box as well. These were all white, and I painted them gloss black. So I think the reason why this happened with the paint chipping right off the plaster when I pulled the tape is that the paint didn't adhere to the plaster of the wall. And I have noticed that in other spots, the tape has ripped the drywall, but where the tape ripped the drywall, you can clearly see that it's ripped the paper on the drywall, whereas here it's ripped the plaster. Now, I know I did this section, but in other sections, I think what happened is whoever painted this wall with the beige, they also never used a primer that would adhere to the plaster. So I think this is why all this is happening, and I just hope I have enough of that beige color to touch this up. So now that I got the walls mostly done, I thought I would paper up the windows and the door so that people couldn't look in and see when I start actually putting the shelves in here and the different displays and whatever. You know, give people a surprise. So here we have the repair on the wall, and this thing is nice and smooth all the way across. Feels really fine to me. So I will paint it with that beige color before to use as the mortar. Here I have the fire extinguisher mounted back on the wall and a little bit higher up than where it was. It was pretty much like right down here. You had to crawl on your knees to actually get the fire extinguisher. So I put it more at my height where I can just, smash in and grab it. So that ends up a lot better. Here it is from a different angle. Really nice how the red pops out from the yellow, so you can see right where this is. Only thing I need to do now is add the sticker right above it. There we have the fire extinguisher sticker, And I actually got this right on the wall, perfectly center. So it's 4 3/4 inches on either side where the yellow is. And I did that right on the first take just by eyeballing it. Next thing to install is our old open sign, and this is a lighted sign. And what I got here is this great big heavy duty 8-pound hook. Looks like one of the drywall screws that I'm using. So this should hold it right up in there really nicely. A little update on this. So down there, of course, is where all the trouble started. Or maybe up there. At any rate, that is the beige color I painted on there, of course. Now I started to do the bricks in between to try to get these back together, but I am running out of red. And it does look again like it's chipping where the beige is, right down to the plaster, but I guess that's the nature of this. Just have to keep going. Up here is pretty good though, so far. But what I'm trying to do is rematch these little bricks in red, because that's the way I want them. And then I think some of these others, because I'm really right out of that red, I'm scraping whatever's still moist in the bottom of this pot right here, which is barely anything. But at any rate, yeah, so I'll try to do those runs of bricks that are really short, because they should be all red and not have a different color one in there. But what I think I might do, like up in here or something, is to change it to one of these other colors if I run out of red. There it is, the wall all patched up. Can't even see where it was. Where was it? I don't know. Tune in next week to find out. No, but seriously, now I gotta do my baseboard down along there. I did this one over here, but I can't seem to bump it into the wall. It wants to pull out. I just wonder if I should go and grab 2-way tape, run it across the top, then hammer it on with the little nails. That'll probably fix it for good. So now is the time in my country when we check for the studs. First you got to get the reading into the wall, and now just move the stud detector around, and it's saying 1 is here. So I've had some issues with the stud finder in the past. So I would say the stud is more here than over here in nowhere land. But today's the day I'm going to hang those shelves. So I need to know where the stud is for the brackets. So here we have our first display up. These are the full length 8-foot boards, but I've got them railed so that I can cut the boards in half for 4-foot lengths so that I can adjust these shelves and maybe make some displays in there, various sizes. So originally we were going to do 8 shelves, but that would put the 8th one way up there where no one can reach it. So there isn't much point. So that gives me 1 extra shelf here, so I can continue this shelf design going down the walls. And the nice part is you can still see the bricks in behind. So I haven't really covered up the entire wall. So it's good to know that I actually painted it and it's going to work out. Now I'm not too sure what to do on this side yet, but I'll get things all figured out. Now my friend James came over and helped me get these brackets and everything on the wall, which was quite a nice help. Even though the day was a bit short on doing this, we only got 1 done, but that's okay. It kind of came here a bit late. It's been a couple of days of working at this, but here we have our store so far, so I thought I'd just take you on a little bit of a tour again, since the last couple of seconds that you saw this. All right, so here I've got 2 shelving units, and I've got the rails set up for a 3rd, but we're waiting on some more of those shelving brackets to come in. I had to order them because I keep buying them from our local hardware stores. I was going to say hobby store. And running out, but I also need to get 7 more shelves. So the way I'm trying to do this is, if you notice here where it's sort of in between the 2 brackets, and like I said before, I was going to cut the shelves right there for 4-foot lengths. So what I've got is, in that space, I've got Chrysler and American Motors, of course, because they're part of the same thing now, have been since '86. But that section's going to be all Chrysler right to the bottom, with trucks along the bottom. I do have a Studebaker in there because I'm not sure what to do with it. Maybe independents as well. Independent car companies. So here's Ford. Well, I got GM, which will be in this area here. The Seaview will be gone, the trucks will be gone, the Japanese import cars at the bottom will be gone. Once I get the other shelving unit here, everything will move over. So there I got my police stuff up and fire, and then some monster trucks and NASCAR and that. But I'll get more of this once I get the other shelf. Now I got to start figuring what I need to order from my wholesaler. That'll be interesting. So right where this table is, there's going to be sort of like a long box down the center of the aisle with a pegboard up in the middle. You'll see later this design I have. But basically it's going to give me a shelf on the other side of this aisle that's not going to be like a wall going straight up. It'll be a box in the middle. I'll put my military stuff in there or something. So there's the brackets there, or the rails, I mean. Okay, so we reassembled this paint rack, which was a Model Master rack. And the Model Master paints went from the top to the bottom. But now testers reverted back to just these little square bottles. So I have to order the rest of the square bottles. And unfortunately, my wholesaler doesn't have all the paint numbers because there's some out of stock. And what we found out is I've got a few in here that they don't carry anymore for whatever reason. The paints are still good. They're enamels. They're sealed, you know. There's a balsa wood rack. Down there's a K&S metal rack. And way on the floor here is a Plasdirect plain sheet box. Now I am going to make a little table that's basically about that height, and put this on top so that it brings the K&S, the top of that rack, up to the top of this. And then I've got the big Plasdirect turning display. Now the only downside is all of this stuff was outside in the backyard and it got discolored because of the sun, and one of these warped. Well, I guess a bunch of those little buckets warped. So that's never any good. But what can you do? I mean, I had no storage yard. I wasn't going to pay somebody $200 a month for storing this stuff. So now on this side, I've got the Games Workshop paint rack. I don't know what happened to the little image that goes up in the top. So when I get hooked up with Games Workshop again, the rep there was saying that they can send out new. Well, this needs new stickers. I mean, look at what happened in the sun. Faded them right out. And I got to rearrange this because I think I had an extra shelf. Because I don't have one here, you know, for the little expansion side. And then this expansion rack that I got here, it's supposed to hook to this rack, but they never sent me the base for it. You know, it was some shipping error or something. So I don't know if I should ask for a new extension rack or try to figure out how to mount this thing to this, or even just mount it to the wall in behind. I don't know. Anyway, so we got the two shelves, and as you can see, I don't have much Games Workshop stuff currently in stock, but I'll fix that once I get hooked up with the rep. Then I've got the old wire magazine rack. This is probably like one of my first racks I ever had, but a lot of this is sun faded, so I'm not sure whether to spray paint it or just forget about it. So there's the rest of the wall. Now what I'm thinking of, actually going back over here, is in between where that shelf is going to end and then this wall section. I'm thinking of getting pegboard in here, 8 feet. And then having it double pegboard, so 2 sheets of 8-foot pegboard. And then from the 2 feet of 8-foot pegboard, 8 feet, you know what I'm saying, this big section of pegboard, I'm going to put rails on one side of it so that if the pegboard is too big, then if I need shelves, I can put the shelves on the rails, and that'll make it a lot better. And then on the pegboard stuff is where the cub cars are going to be, because they're all on pegboard hooks. Here, let's take a look at this. This is a long take on my video thing. So they call this, it's got the pegboard hangers. Every single cub car, Pinewood Derby car, whatever you want to call it, Awana Grand Prix cars, whatever, they all are hanging. So I can't just have them on a shelf like this, because they'll fall off. Yeah, they're all just hanging there, so needs pegboard. Same with like Hot Wheels and whatever else the heck. So, but what I'm thinking is, if I don't need the pegboard, then I'm going to hang these rails on here, and I've got these shelving brackets are 12 inches long, but I've got older ones that are 10 inches. And this will be mounted on 2x2s. So 2 inches out, subtraction from 12, you got 10 inches. So the 10-inch shelf should line up with these shelves. Make shelves all the way across. So on this wall beside the magazine rack, I might also put another pegboard here, because Games Workshop has a bunch of hanging stuff as well. Or, reverse them, put the pegboard beside the rack. Down along there will be bookshelves for all the other war games and role-playing games, and many other cool things. Another thing I need to do is hang up my wall art, and I think I will start with the clock and the black cat. I'm going to put it up here on that pillar. And then the other art is this really cool Mercedes painting, or poster, I guess, and one for the Olympia, which are about the same time period of the early 1900s. Here I've made a bit of a mock front counter, just a table set up, but this sort of gives me an idea of what's going on. So I realize I can't put these here because I won't have any room, but there is my cash register. I'll also have my computer in here, and then a spot for people to put items down. Something like that. The other thing I want to use is this, which is a candy rack my sister gave me a long time ago. And it's still good for some chocolate bars, whatever. For gaming night in the old boardroom. Here I have the Mercedes and the Olympia pictures up on the wall, as well as over here with the cat and our clock. So again, some really nice artwork in here. Now as you come into the nice store, you get to see the models on the shelf and all that, but one thing that bugs me is when you look up, you see all the damaged ceiling tiles and stained ceiling tiles. Now, for some weird reason, a couple of people that I know are telling me not to bother with the ceiling tiles. However, today I picked up 2 bundles of new tiles because this really bugs me. I've had so many businesses where the ceiling tiles are wrecked and whatever, and I can't do it anymore. And I did get a good deal. So the ceiling tiles locally are $113 for a bushel of 8, or a bundle of 8. And I went up to the neighboring town and got the same boxes for $80 for 8. Here I have some more lumber, so I've got these 2x2s for mounting up pegboard. Then I was able to get more shelves. This is another 7. And then here's the ceiling tiles here. And I started piling up the cardboard boxes from all our stuff that was stored, like that stuff there. And that's just to get these out of the way, and I'm keeping the sizes in case I need them again for something else. I also brought my miter box and saw and drills, and I bought some of that black paint as well as screws, and the one angle bracket that I actually found at home. So that was white and I repainted it black. And here's our stack of nice new ceiling tiles, and boy, they look really good. Nice and clean. So we have a couple of bad tiles. Most of them are just chewed from where the wall was before. But this one is really water damaged. Like, look at that. And it's even warped up the edge of that board too. So it'd be nice to get rid of these. And then the other ones I need to do now are like the little short ones that are up there. Where's a good example? Oh, and I got to do this one too. Somebody didn't cut this long enough here. So I have to cut one of the new ones or cut off one of the old ones that's still good in a spot. That's got a water damage and that's got a hole. So I'll have to do those. And here we have the roof with all the ceiling tiles now replaced. You can see just how much better this is. Way better. No holes, nothing. Like a brand new roof. That's the way we want it at Monster Hobbies. So yeah, real good stuff. Well, I just finished making this little wooden box, and this is going to be painted white to match some of the other things. This one I really like. There's some 2x2s under there, just to hold it all together. Now, all this is square, so the table I think is a little bit warped in here. But this will be a nice little stand for our K&S rack. There's the box, and as you can see, it lines up perfectly square on the floor. So it is cut nice and straight. Now, the only saws I have here, these are not power saws. These are my grandfather's hand saws. I don't own any power saws. So I was able to saw all this wood, just like so, and get it all nice and perfect with my grandfather's saw. Now the nice part about that saw is that it does really relive his legacy, as well as tie me to him just through that way. It's as if my grandfather's spirit is here, guiding me with these saws. Now my next task is to add some pegboard right here up into where the tools are. Now originally I cut this 4x4, but it ended up being like way up into the ceiling. So I reduced it to a 4x3 sheet. And right here I've got both the top and the bottom. But there's the bottom, and I mounted it onto the wall right where the studs are so that this won't come down. The other one did. Anyway, but yeah, so that's where we're at. What I'll do is I'm going to cut the 32 inch, because there's going to be 4 inches lost. 32 inches up there. I won't be able to mount them into the wall because they'll be on the edge and there's no stud here. I'm not going to use drywall anchors, not on wood, but the bottom and the top will be anchored in. So all I need to do is find out where the top one will be, mount that in, and then I'll mount the sides to the pegboard itself, and then I can pop it all into place once I'm ready to put this together. Here's our wall with the new pegboard put up right above the K&S tool rack and the balsa wood rack, and beside the evergreen styrene and our tester's paint rack. Now of course I'll be painting that pegboard black and the box white down below, but this is just the, got it done at the end of the day part of the video. Today we had a bit of a paint day as my youngest daughter painted up this box with 2 coats of white latex paint. We're just going to sand it down again and give it a 3rd coat, and that should make it look all nice for the stand. Unfortunately though, this still looks like I used plywood. I guess if I really wanted this to look like it was made out of plastic or something, I would have just put a coat of some kind of filler all over it and then sanded that out, made it nice and flat, but I guess it'll be okay. The next thing we painted was this bit of pegboard mounted on the wall where the tools are going to hang. And my 2 daughters painted this. My oldest painted the edge here, and my youngest rolled on the paint this way. And then we built the the other pegboard rack here that's going to go up on that wall somewhere. So all three of us painted this, both daughters and myself. And we're getting somewhere with it. Needs some more coats of paint though. And then my oldest daughter finished putting in all these wires into here on the paint rack. And then both my oldest daughter and my wife were cleaning up these Games Workshop shelves that we have. So we gotta get rid of the stickers that are on here. These ones are all sun faded, of course. And then there was a pile that was in one of my old cars in the backyard that actually did not sun fade. So we've separated the two, and I'll just spray paint over these with some trim clad just to brighten them all up. Now this pegboard was actually leaning up against a shed for 3 years in the backyard, and it actually curled. So I made the frame up and we tightened it all to the frame, and hopefully some of that curve will get out of here with the wet paint. So here we have our tool center with basically everything I have right now. I've got more things on order. So there's our tester's paint rack there, and then we've got the board in the back with Excel knife blades and saws and that sort of thing. Then we've got our balsa wood rack, we've got our K&S metal rack, Plastruct box down below, and then the evergreen styrene plastic rack. So I've got the order going for these missing components, and hopefully they'll arrive soon. We also have the rest of our shelves with the brackets here for our model car section. And today in this area, we are going to put one big 4x8, actually a 6x8 sheet of pegboard wall. And on this side of the wall, we have our Games Workshop paint rack. And then we've got 2 racks. I'm going to get a third one added in here. And then I have another big black pegboard, and there's a magazine rack. And then from that way out, there'll be another bookshelf rack, as well as some actual bookshelves for RPG games. So as some bloke is out here mowing his lawn, I'm actually going to paint these worn out Warhammer shelves. These were all sun faded, so with a little shot of trim clad gloss black, should actually look more like factory and nice and clean. Here's the shelves looking all nice and new, but the only downside is that I ran out of paint. I was cleaning up my backyard on Sunday, and I happened to find the backboard for our paint rack up over here. So I'll clean that up and attach it today. And I also found this rack. Now it's your pegboard hooks, but unfortunately they're all set at a particular height. And I don't know what this rack was used for originally. I ended up picking it up somewhere back in the past. It's from some other display I never owned. And there is one set of hooks that broke off of this thing. But anyway, these are a couple of the racks that I have. I see a pegboard and I want to paint it black. No wood grain anymore, I want to paint it black. Yay, I just wrecked your song. Anyway, here we got our, this is a, let's see, 6x8 pegboard wall that we made here. And I think I need a screw right in this zone. Suck that in again. But yeah, so today I'm going to be painting this giant monster. This finishes off the wall. There is 14 inches in between here in case I get a very small paint rack or maybe some tiny shelves. But yeah, this will be the model car section. So I just ended up buying a model kit collection here from a friend up in Edmonton. And there's quite a bit of items in here, as you can see. These boxes are pretty huge. They got some cool things like this American La France. Now, to get an idea of how big that box is, there's the La France, and then there's still room over there. So yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff here. Some kits are built, but he's got a lot of, he's into hearses and that sort of thing, which is great for Monster Hobbies. And he's got like some goodies. You can see a Johann in here. And then I think these are Jimmy Flintstone resin cast hearse bodies. And he's got enough Ecto 1As in there in order to mount them all up. So maybe I might sell those as a, you know, pair them together or something, some way. There's a Thompson gun here. It's from Japan. Let's just move this. Uh-oh. All right. That was close. I was expecting that to crash all over the floor. Look at this thing. Yep, there goes that. Well, one's better than all. Okay. Look at this thing. How's that for a kit? I wonder if I can sell this. One-piece barrel with 80 plastic bullets and realistic target. Just if you're playing with this, do it in your backyard. Don't go out in the street with it. Anyway, yeah, so there's a lot of cool things. Now, most of these are older kits, so it seems like they're kind of 1991 era sort of thing. But still, I mean, for all this, I'm bringing in models for my wholesalers, but this is nice because a lot of vintage stuff in here, and I don't have to pay import or duty or any of that. It was just straight Canadian right across. So look for some of these on the shelf. I don't think I'm going to sell them all at once because my store would look like it was from 2000. But I will be bringing things out here and there as it goes along. And here's our pegboard sheet painted black. I also have the rails right here. If you can see them there and there, toward the edge. Now, I need to get two that are 24 inches long, if they make such a thing, and connect them to the bottom. But for now, I'm going to load this rack with the Pine Car, Cub Car stuff, and what decals I have. Now, I am going to end up getting more things for this, so you'll have to wait and see what that is. Here we have another update on the hobby shop, how it's all going. So the grocery store gave me the data strips from before, as they promised they would do. And now that allows me to put tags under each of the models. So again, get this place looking professional. Now, one thing that has been happening is that these data strips, they're coming off because of the shelving brackets sticking out. So one of the things I'm going to do is mark the shelves, and then I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom, just a little one, and get this pin to sit back so the edge of the shelf comes forward, if you know what I mean. And then when it comes forward, the data strips won't get interrupted by those pins. Or I guess the pins won't interfere with the data strips sticking on. And these will be nice and flat. Now, turning the camera over this way, we have our center aisle section. Now up here, there are some screws, but they're not affecting the data strips I put up on top here. And I put the data strips up there because the pegboard hooks, like there's a 2x2 right up in here. And you can't put pegboard hooks up here because they go right, they click into the 2x2. So instead, we got the data strips, and the pegboards would start down at this hole. So then I can put some prices up here. We got the nice wood shelves. And then here I'll have some other wood shelves coming out just to make a little display at this end as you come in. So there's two of these. We're waiting on the brackets. And these are the shelf brackets that I've got, some pretty heavy duty ones. And we've got one more that's going to be on the end here. Hopefully later today I can pick up those brackets. Been waiting a week at the hardware store for them to bring them in. Now next week I've got the Games Workshop order coming in, so I'll have the other rack in there. And we still have to make our desk over here. But as you can see, we've been doing a lot of work around here, trying to get everything done. Get ready for a showtime. Oh yeah, and the other thing I need to do today is try to figure out this. This is the old wire magazine rack you guys might remember from the old store. It used to be on a roller thing, and these were back to back, the cages. But this time around I'm going to mount them as they're supposed to be mounted, one on top of each other. I just got to figure out where on the wall this is going to hang, and then that piece of wood will be brought up, spacered out, because these have little hooks on the back, and then painted black and mounted to the wall. There'll be another one up on top. I thought that was long enough, but it's not, of course. So anyway, yeah, so this will start looking good once we get it all done. Here we have the shelf with the hole drilled in for that bit of the bracket to go into. And now what's really nice about this is that the shelf won't move, you know, going back and forth. Whereas with like the one on top, I can easily slide that back and around and whatever. And that data strip is now stuck nice and flat onto the edge of the board so that it won't, you know, bow outward and have the potential of getting ripped off because the bracket's in the way. Here's the store after a few days getting things all together. So we've got this little display rack, and that center thing is pretty much finished, although I am thinking of attaching another shelf just down below here on adjustable brackets. I've started to get the bookcases together for our role-playing games and whatnot. Got the magazine rack installed. Now this was 2 pieces, and the original rack, whatever this was, I never did get. I only got these shelf bits. So I've anchored them in with a board across the top, and then there's some posts that come out underneath here. You can see them, those black ones up against the wall. And then cut some dollar store, some of that black core foam board. Cut them into slats just so the books don't get the wires into the bottoms. Then I've got this magazine rack. This is one of my oldest racks. That's from the flea market days. We've got this wall here with Dungeons and Dragons stuff on it. And then hopefully today we'll be getting the rest of the Games Workshop stuff in here. Now, might also add a bookcase back here in this corner for the old Games Workshop books. And you can see here, I got the back of this rack. So down this side we got all military stuff. I still am waiting for some more product to come in, so the shelves are a bit barren. Although it is looking quite neat. I've still got to get cars on the model car wall. So all this pretty much will be model cars and car related items. Got some Hot Wheels up there. I've got a replacement AMT 53 Ford flathead from the truck in case someone needs one. All this cool stuff. And then the pegboard here will have some accessories and whatnot on it for model cars. And then our paint racks and all the rest. Now I haven't really done anything in the gaming room yet. I'm not sure when that's going to be happening. But overall, I'm getting there. Here we are with another update from the store. This is the 10th of July. We've had quite a few setbacks and everything, and you know, to try to get open. But here we have our first bookcase in here with some models up top. Nice center section. We also have our magazines and a neat little image from Monarch when they were first starting up. Got an empty magazine rack, which we'll fill later. Some of the war games, so Confrontation, and some old Rel Partha figures, as well as some Dungeons and Dragons items. Then we have our Warhammer section here. So we've got some Warhammer 40k, some Age of Sigmar, starter sets, and paints. And then right in here, we've got the older books. Newer books, when they come in, will go up on the top. Up there for Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Old World. Down here for 40k. I also have some of the 9-page pockets and some really cool binders. Dragons and Yu-Gi-Oh things on it. Now here we just got this desk. This is from the sign shop. They weren't using it, so that's always nice. And then got a bookshelf back there. Sorry. We have our Plastruck rack, K&S tools, balsa wood, and then knives, model paints here. Now there's more stuff coming, but it got caught up in customs, which I'll explain in a minute here. So this is where all the hanging model car stuff is going to be. And I've got some of my old pictures up top from these came in some of the AMT kits, and I had them framed. And now down here we've got our wall, and I added in items from the guy's collection. And again, when that Stevens order comes up from the States, I'll be filling in the holes with what's missing for cars. So here we've got our trucks, and we've got imports, and then we've got specialty cars like the Hot Wheels, TV and movies, NASCAR, rescue and fire up there. And then coming in here, I've got 8 feet in that section of General Motors vehicles, including like the old Cadillac kits, Buicks, Chevy, Corvette, Oldsmobile and Pontiac, and then all the trucks are along the bottom. Pickup trucks and even station wagons, light commercial, I guess you call it. And here we got our Ford section, and starting up with Edsel up at the top. And yeah, Ford's going down. Then you get Lincoln, Mercury, Mustangs, and then the Shelbys, and Thunderbirds, and then the trucks. And then over here we've got our American Motors up along the top. So the Hudsons and that, even the Jeeps and the Willys. And then we've got Chrysler, because we're going alphabetical. So A, C, Dodge, D, Plymouth. And then we got trucks down below, and then some overflow like the Atlantic and the Slammer kits. And then here I've got Studebaker, because I wasn't quite sure where to put them, and Chrysler Corporation models like your AMC, Dodge, Plymouth, Chrysler, etc. There's not as many of them, so I figured I could put some independents down in that spot. And then here we've got our center rack. We've got monsters at the end. And I'll go down this way again. So we've got sci-fi. And this Skywatcher weather set, I didn't know where to put that. There's some Star Trek and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Just down below, I've got to put some shelves in here. But this is the Lego compatible items that I have. And then we've got some of the historical figures. 1/72nd scale army people. I got Miss Buxley there. From Beetle Bailey. And yeah, there's some airplanes. And then 32nd scale. I've still got all these Bachmann mini army guys. And then bagged kits. These are still some of the rescues from the flood and a few other items. And we've got our bigger scale airplanes, 48 scale, 32 scale, that kind of thing. Got this Thunderbolt 2 kit. Now, the box is crushed, but inside the model is perfect, if anybody's into that one. Little photo etch here on the end. And then down here, so right across from the cars there, we've got more cars here. And this is small scale, 48, or 3rd and 32nd. Then I have the garage items. So the weekend wrenching, the mechanics, the little doozy Coke machine, the boats. Here I've got a case that I have to sort out. It's got Hot Wheels in it. And then some of the Styline kits from this guy's collection that I picked up, as well as some that I got before, like the Ford trucks, Overflow. Got these 33 Cadillacs as well. Al Jolson's car. Some Hot Wheels, and then anime figures. So your Japanese animation, that kind of thing. Okay, let's head to the game room. Now here we have the doors leading into the games room, so we'll just open them up. Still got to clean the glass on them. Now, I had the telephone put in, but I need the electrician to come in and put the plug just behind there. So that's on the go. So these wires are not going to be here. But anyway, I mean, this is all progress, right? So I've got this Games Workshop rack. It was a spare, but what I'm using it for in here is to store up all these little paper buildings and whatnot that I have. And then we get our bookshelves going in here. So this game room is for anybody that wants to come in after school or whatever and just do a pickup game on our table. Maybe two friends come in or something and play. Third one to cheer them on. I don't know. I have one rule here, everybody. If you break one of these pieces of terrain, don't freak out. Don't hide it. Don't, just confess. And I'm not going to do anything rotten to you. I just want to know so that if I have to fix something, I can easily glue it back together and not lose the pieces. That's all. I just don't want to lose the pieces. So at any rate, right in this one, it's all the stone stuff. So you got your mountains down below, and then like the interesting platform there. Up above, I've got stonework, so like little bridges, miniature castle, this tower that I need to fix. It's all caved in. Sometimes that Games Workshop plastic, especially on the buildings, does not glue at all. And I don't know what's up with it. And then I've got the castle there. It's in pieces in the box, keeps it together. Then down here I got the forest and the nature type of things with some orc tents down below for camping, orc style. And then here, so I've got some of the original Warhammer townscape buildings. Now these are actually, I've got a PDF of these, which is really cool. So I've built them up, I've reinforced them with foam core board, so they're nice and rigid. There's some really cool ones there. And then here, these are all the Village on the Cheap, so that's another city type of computer disk that I have where you can print off all these things onto paper. And this is one, I've got to rebuild some of these. My kids put them together when they were really little, and I put some together too. And that was before I reinforced anything with the hot glue gun and the foam core board. So even my work on some of them, it's so flimsy, right? But the idea of the Village on the Cheap was you just build the cheap, print off the building, build it up, and then if somebody stepped on it or something, you could throw it out. That was the idea. But I found that if you put the foam core board in there, like these things, this is hollow. Let's see. But yeah, these things are like indestructible. And some of these were painted with a felt pen, and that's because my ink was running out like way back when, and I only had black. I think I printed these on LaserJet printer, if I remember right. So I colored them with pencil crayon. Got this church, and then the elf building. That's a wizard tower. The dwarf mine, this is one I built. But again, you can see like just with paper, it's all crooked and everything. But when you cut the foam core board, it straightens it all out as well. Then down here, we've got some really old Dungeons and Dragons buildings. Again, paper ones from the 80s. Interesting, it's got instructions inside on the back side. This one, I just used some thick styrofoam block. But I have more of these in a box, so I'll build a real house. This is one that I built. It's using the Dungeons and Dragons side pieces, but the roof itself, I cut all the individual shingles up there and made it all rigid, put the little tube in the top there, the half round where my thumb is. Yeah, it turns out really nice. And then when I get the foam core, I also make a little bottom for them with cardboard. Keeps everything nice and together. And then I need another bookshelf in here. But over here we've got the all these Mage-Right thrones. And I've got so many because we were doing tournaments, so each table could have one. There's 8 of those. There used to be 8 of the cemeteries. I sold one. I must have sold another one too. I've got 6 left. Towers, volcanoes for scenarios. Now I've cut extra shelves into this. I need one for here because these are not very tall, and if I get extra shelves, I can get them all in. Then we've got 40,000 up here with different buildings that need to be painted from a long time ago. Same with the tunnels and whatnot. Or I guess these are spaceship things. This is funny resin plastic. You can see this one's bent in and this one's spread out. I find that this resin moves. So if I were to leave this outside for a day, it would go back the other way, and it's weird stuff. I've never figured it out, and it's always moving. And I got those years ago. So here we got the crashed spaceships. This needs a major rebuild. It's an orc garage. And then down here we've got some of the store-bought Age of Sigmar pieces and earlier fantasy. These are portals, whatever, teleportals for some tournament. And then these ones were ones I built earlier for a different tournament. So I've got to paint those up, and volcanoes as well that need to be done. But pretty much this is our gaming room. I also have this table against the wall, which I'll clear up. That could be used for people building some stuff, or you could always turn this table and then bring this out for people that want to play card games. But we're not set up for the card games just yet. I'm working on that with a wholesaler, third wholesaler. So for now, I'll just leave this as sort of a Warhammer type of room. But yeah, so you get the general idea how this all will be. So the only other thing we're waiting for here is the sign, which is halfway through being done. So once it's up there, we should pretty much be ready to go. So all I need is a sign, the electrician, and my missing items from customs.